and we'll be like, whew, that looks like shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
And then other ones you're like, ooh, I want to see that one.
And the ones that look like shit might be better movies than the one that looks good.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark Howley.
The Mark Howley Show. How did you do it and why?
I want to introduce to the show Thomas Jøren Neilsen. And he's had a pretty cool career for a young man. And I'm impressed, and I think you'll be impressed. So I just, hey, how you doing this morning?
Well, thanks for saying that. And yeah, I'm impressed by you as well. So it's cool to be here. Cool to meet you. And yeah, I'm doing good. Had some coffee. It's a pretty good Friday morning.
Yeah, cranked up.
Yeah.
Are you from here?
Seattle?
No, you're not. You're from, what I'm saying?
I'm from Minnesota.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Minneapolis.
Yeah. So I was originally born in St. Paul. And I always say this because I was in Los Angeles for about 8 years. And I recently moved back to Minneapolis a couple months ago.
Cool.
So, that's a little bit of where I'm from. And I think that like the past 8 years kind of shaped me a lot with what I do and that kind of thing. So from Minnesota, and I've had a pretty solid career in Los Angeles.
And so so everybody knows, tell us what it's TJN?
Yeah, TJN
LLC.
LLC, Thomas Jøren Neilsen LLC. Yeah, so I do everything from customized scoring for movie trailers, TV shows, anything that you could imagine with post-production audio, sound design, any kind of media. So if that's music videos, video games, TV shows, commercials, broadcast stuff. I've kind of everything that you can imagine with sound and post-production audio. Okay. I've done it at some point, but I specialized in customized music and sound design.
Okay. So. And video to some extent, but
not super crazy on video. I work with a lot of editors and directors and post-producers and production teams and marketing people and people, that's their thing, VFX people. But they always need sound, right? Sure. So that's where I come into play. I always say it's like I'm a piece of a much larger puzzle to put together, whatever it is. It could be a team of 30 people. It could be a team of 300 people.
Yeah.
So it's like the sound is one aspect of it. And a lot of times when I'm doing the sound, I'm kind of doing all of the sound. So there's a lot that just goes into, you think sounds like, oh, okay, you just kind of take it for granted sometimes, which is good, I think. If you're watching something and it's supporting it and it doesn't distract, then I did my job.
Yeah, it's flowing with it and evoking the emotion you want out of it.
Right. Right. So it's, I started with, honestly started doing sound design for music videos and working with directors. And after a while, some of those directors started doing commercials, and I got into trailers. There's a whole reason why I got into trailers.
Yeah, I remember.
I just want to go into
when
that,
you were 16 years old or something, you were a trailer freak.
Yeah, so it was really interesting because, I specifically remember going to the movie theater when I was 16, and just something clicked with me. I was like, "Wow, trailers are really cool."
They are cool.
I mean, it's like a mini movie, and I would go to the theater, buy a ticket, watch the trailers, and then go to the next theater over, just walk down the hall, and hopefully I'd catch another trailer. And if there was a security guard, I'd be like, "Oops, I'm in the wrong theater." Back then it was if it was rated R, they had to make sure you were old enough to get in.
Of course.
But
pollute the mind.
Yeah, right. Right. Totally. So that was kind of where I had this idea initially when I was 16. I wanted to do movie trailers. And I stuck with that. I had that in the back of my head for a very long time. I wasn't very good with school. Academically.
I read that.
I was, just a kid with ADD and wasn't very focused in school. And eventually I got a laptop, and started producing. Yeah, it was a big deal. My dad bought me this $400 old white MacBook, and I was oh my gosh, I can download Logic and start producing music and whatever. And it was really bad for a really long time. And then
who were you presenting that to? Or was this for yourself?
It was just for myself. I wasn't doing anything. I was just
even buddies.
Oh yeah, okay. When you say that,
I was gonna say.
I was part of a hip hop group in high school, and I was
Alright.
like producing the beats for this hip hop group in high school, and it was really funny because like they would play our songs at the football games,
Oh.
and we thought we were so cool.
Oh yeah.
you know,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Did any of the girls know were you doing that? I mean, because you know, you got cheerleaders are getting
Yeah,
looked at.
no, it's,
You know, football
I don't
players.
think any of the girls cared about that at all. But
Who's the guy who did that music?
Yeah,
Wow.
right. Yeah, it was not very good music at the time, but it was cool too because I mean it was like we were kind of the only like music group from the school.
Mhm.
But actually there was this guy DJ Sidereel who has a pretty good career, and I was friends with him in high school.
Okay.
And we actually ended up. He was in California, and I moved in with him in California when I moved there when I was 20.
So what provoked that move? That's a pretty.
It's a pretty
20-year-old guy.
I know.
Go off to LA. It's like wow.
It's pretty risky, right?
Uh-huh.
So it was like basically I was working at this audio company
Mhm.
in Minnetonka, Minnesota called Minnetonka Audio.
I've been there.
Oh, Minnetonka, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
so you're familiar kind of with the area.
Oh yeah. In my exciting career, I sold bags. This is
Okay.
scintillating. Okay.
That sounds thrilling. That's
Listen,
okay.
you know, I got into it and I did it for 35 years and I had success. It was just pounding away,
Wow.
heavily directed, you know, persistence, getting punched in the face. Probably ultimately a lot of what you would run into
Sure.
as you move through your
Oh,
career.
right. Yeah.
And then Minnetonka, lo and behold, they had a very good pet food company.
Okay. I wonder what pet food company that would be.
Hubbard.
Okay.
Okay, so I said, I'm going down there to get their bag business.
Gotcha.
Drove all the way the hell down there 3 times, and son of a bitch never gave me any business. Hopefully he's bankrupt.
Not once, huh?
No, I want him over and
Right.
over, you know,
Yeah.
and then I want him to burn in the embers of hell.
Oh, yeah.
But actually, I really liked the guy who stayed. I did, you know, I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of
sure.
people you're trying to, you know, I'm sure for you
Totally.
too.
Oh, it's all about relationship.
And you
building,
like some of the people and you miss
Totally.
the business and then you
Mhm.
just, you know, you just hang and
hang
hopefully
out.
they
Yep.
turn into some business.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Totally. So,
They say in selling, okay, which I did, you know, all my life,
right.
is that if somebody wants to do something, pardon me, if somebody says to you, can you do this?
Mhm.
And you don't feel that you would be the top performer,
Mm-hmm.
tell him or her, no, go to ABC.
Sure. Right.
And you know, it hurts because
you're
commonly,
missing out.
yeah, or a lot of people will mislead because they'll expand their skill set.
Right.
Now they're out there making a shit show.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And spoiling their name.
Right.
So just pass it to somebody else.
Totally. Absolutely.
And that'll come back to you 1,000 times over.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And I kind of preach this a little bit in a different way. It's like, okay, if somebody comes to me and they approach me, whoever it is, if it's somebody I've been working with or whatever, and they're looking for, you know, somebody to help them, and I'm not the person, but I know somebody, I have no problem making the connection, you know, and they can figure that kind of thing out. But I do know what you're talking about of like, hey, can you do this? It's XYZ. And if I know I can't do it, I don't want to put myself through that stress.
Yeah.
And then it's like, again, with what I was talking about, when there's all these other people involved to make something happen, I want
Let's
to
circle back to Minnetonka.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's the ADD. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, dude.
You're shot on.
I don't know. I got it, man. We'll go back to Minnetonka, but real quick, when I'm working with big teams of people, I want to respect the project that we're working on and the amount of people it took to get that to happen.
Yeah.
And so if I'm part of the puzzle, I want to make sure I'm doing my best work possible, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, back to Minnetonka. So, Minnetonka is a very nice area. It's cool.
It is. It's pretty.
Yeah, it's Prince's, you know, that's where he was at. And I met
Prince was from Minnetonka?
Yeah, he had a studio in Paisley
Oh,
Park.
okay. I didn't know that, but he's from St. Paul.
Yeah, or
Okay.
Minnesota.
Okay.
That's our big claim to fame.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Prince. And my dad actually got the opportunity to play with him a couple times. My dad's a
Whoa.
keyboard player. And so I grew up around music. My dad is a phenomenal musician. And yeah, I can get into that a little bit later.
Does he do it professionally or he enjoy
He
it?
was professionally doing it in like the 80s and the 90s a little bit. And he actually did music for commercials, which is
cool.
really crazy because like that's what I do, kind of a little bit of that. But then he had a family and, went to go the safe route and get a job as a teacher and,
you gotta,
support and provide for the family.
Once you have kids, you got to buckle down.
Totally. Right. So I came up with that background of music at least. And I was growing up everywhere. All we listened to is like funk and jazz. And that was all I was allowed to listen to is funk and jazz music growing up.
No Black Sabbath.
No, that was a little later. Once I was like a teenager, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start exploring a little bit with, finding cool music. But Minnetonka Audio Software, they were doing code for Dolby.
Okay.
Writing all the code for Dolby applications, and their clients were like Lionsgate and Lucasfilm and all these really massive post-production companies and movie houses and stuff like that. And anyway, I met this guy. I found his wallet and I called him and I said, "Hey man, I got your wallet." And I went
Take
and
the money out.
Yeah, right. I drove the wallet to him and he's like, "Thanks so much." His name's Steve. And we got to talking and, he's like, I was Prince's engineer for a decade or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I'm 19 at the time. Like, I was like, I want to be best friends with this guy.
Yeah, any age. Lock in.
Totally.
Lock in.
Absolutely. So I kind of jumped the gun with Minnetonka a little bit. But anyway, he worked at this company, Minnetonka Audio Software. And I would just hang out at his house like every week. And I'm like, just learning what engineering is and like trying to pick up as much.
Loved it.
I loved it. I loved it. So eventually he got me a job working there and I was there for about 2 years. And one of the software developers at that company has a music company where, it's just a music sync license company.
Yep.
He's been doing it forever, since the 90s, and his credit list is crazy. And eventually I got a Super Bowl advertisement. My music was in a radio Super Bowl advertisement.
That's cool.
So that was really cool. And I got this idea at 20 or 21. I was like, okay, if I did this, I can go to Los Angeles and I can really do this. So
Los Angeles is some cool shit when you're
right.
If you've never been there, and even when you've been there, it's alive.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna move to LA with like almost no money and go try to figure it out. So that's what I did, and it was just a lot of meeting people and kind of saying yes to everything. A lot of failure.
Let me ask you, how do you meet people? I mean, you show up there and
you show up, and I had my buddy was there, this DJ, right?
Okay.
So that was kind of like a little bit of an in. But it's just, one person who knows one person, and then all of a sudden somebody needs something, right?
And you jump on it
if somebody needs. So I was just saying yes to everything. I mean, I was the boom mic guy for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I didn't like. I worked at a broadcast station for a while for TV. Didn't like it. Like, I was trying everything and just trying to figure out how like I could eventually, like, the rule I've heard in Los Angeles, if you can stay there for 8 months and survive, you can be there forever. You know what I mean?
Well, I had a friend of mine who has been, he worked for me. Okay. I'm in recovery, right? So dude's getting clean.
Totally.
And he's like, I need a job. So I'm like, okay, you can come work for me. But, and he goes, well, I want to eventually try and go to Hollywood and do something. And I said, well, I don't care. Just don't dick me over and come here for 6 months while you got your resume out. If you cut me in for 2 years, then listen, who wouldn't do whatever the hell you want?
Right.
So 2 years he did it, and then he bolted down to LA and has been tried to get roles.
Oh, okay.
And has gotten them.
Sure.
Enough to make money.
Right.
But, he hasn't hit the game.
Okay.
But I'm like, that's, the fact that he's able to support himself, to me, isn't just impressive in itself.
Sure.
And you see him pop up here and there, but obviously it's a slugfest. So, I presume maybe your market is not the trying to break into a role as an actor.
I'm not trying to be an actor. No, I never wanted that or wanted to do that. But yeah, I mean, my whole thing was just, it was always sound and music. And, it's not like I have insanely huge songs, but I've had songs on Billboard that I've produced, and
Cool.
so like I've done some cool music stuff for sure, and I've had my own music in 20 movie trailers internationally, global campaigns. I'm just gonna go off a little bit here.
Go for it. I mean, that's where here. If I would please brag.
Totally.
That's what we got here.
One recent one that's really cool that happened during the NBA playoffs that just happened, 2024 NBA playoffs, was a Sprite commercial with Anthony Edwards.
I saw that.
Directed by Daps, and I met him, I don't know, 4 years ago through an editor, and we've done a bunch of music videos together, and we kind of recently started working on some more commercials. And anyway, so that was cool. I got to do all of the music and sound design and post-production audio
Super Bowl
for that.
Sprite is, come on, that's not
playoff Sprite, right?
Yeah, that's not
I will say today the Olympics start, and I have an ad on the Olympics that's going to be airing internationally that I did all the music for and all the sound design for, the mixing and
today
everything. When's it gonna air?
Yeah,
I don't know. They're just gonna have it on rotation throughout the Olympics, which is today through the 11th of August, I think.
I get into it when it starts.
Yeah, right.
I have it like in the background, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm like, like that one where they go along in the snow and then they fall down and shoot a gun.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
always like, I don't know if I don't. It's not in me.
What's it called again? Is it something?
I don't know.
Something skiing, man. I don't know.
It's for weird shit, Somebody made that up so they can get
a time ago, though.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, yeah, it's a sport. And I'm like, there's like 12 guys in it.
Yeah.
And they're all
and they just go like this, and then they shoot at a target, and then they go like this.
No, you know what? It must have been like like the Swiss Army or something. Somebody who's like, we can go down a hill and like kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like, oh, let's make that a sport.
Right.
Right.
Is it like a hunting thing? I don't know, man.
But
the Winter Olympics are cool. I think they're cool. Like the snowboarding stuff.
No, I like all that. I mean, I do.
Ski jumping.
I love the ski jumping. I love the slaloms.
The
toboggan. The luge.
The luge is crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's so crazy. They're going so fast.
I know. I'm like, no.
No, for me, man.
No.
Never.
And when they eat it, they live. Most of them.
Yeah.
Most of them live.
They're wearing like spandex and like a helmet
and just praying for their life. And they're always like, the first guy in the second seat, his position needs to be critical.
It's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what the hell you're talking about, man. Yeah. Or how about what's the one where they have those 3 blocks and then they use the the broom?
Yeah.
That's like, okay, what the hell is that? Yeah. Why is that an Olympic sport?
Why did you make it?
Right.
How bored were you?
Innovation with the
and the little sweepy thing in front.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're all like, he's coming in. He's got the little wiper coming along. And then there's another guy. Isn't there like a blower or something like that? At first, like, and you're like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
But what the hell? I watch some just because they're bizarre.
Oh, I know. It's cool. Yeah. And it's like, okay, these people spent their whole lives.
Yeah.
Then that's the pinnacle of this sport, is the people who are performing, which I think is the coolest part.
Yeah. Well, they're not in there for the cash.
No. Yeah, I don't even think the award is that crazy.
I think if you're just normal dude, you're not getting any money. You get done it, and it's like, hey, great job, and you go back to your country or maybe
training.
Yeah,
these guys are. I mean, guys and girls, whoever they're training all year for the next Olympics.
They're killing themselves.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
I don't know, man.
I don't know. Yeah, we've lost it. We've wandered off stream.
What were we talking about before this?
Music scores, Super Bowl.
Oh yeah. Well,
the
NBA playoffs. Yeah, I guess I'll keep talking quickly, but about the some of the things that have happened, and the 2024 Olympic Games. There's going to be a commercial on that I did the music and sound design for Sprite, and it's Sha'Carri Richardson. She's the fastest runner in the world, female runner in the world. So that's going to be on, which is great. And then today, also this morning at 9 a.m., I had a music video come out with Ice Spice and Travis Scott.
Wow.
And I did the sound design for that. And I was just finished it in here last night. But
yeah, really?
Yeah. So
were you doing some music here?
Yeah, well, sound design for that one specifically.
Okay. With Brian.
No, I knocked that one out. But yeah,
but he was in here.
Yeah, he was in here. Yeah,
Whew.
we've worked on a couple of things
Let me tell
together.
you, he
so.
will fuck this show
Yeah.
up in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Hey, you got Austin. I mean, it's, I'm
right.
struggling. But anyway, I will say to anybody out there, Black Studios, these guys are kick ass.
It's incredible. I mean, look
Yeah.
at this facility that we're in. It's beautiful.
I know.
And I'm glad I get to be here.
So back to you. You did
Cool.
some music here, but you had it on the start of the Olympics.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And then that running, the frequency of it running,
Right.
does that somehow produce income for you?
Yeah, it depends on the agreement that you have for the specific spot. So, I've done things where it's a license deal, and I've done things where it's an upfront payout, buyout, whatever. And I'm typically super flexible with what they want to do. And if
Sure.
there's an issue, like I can get my lawyer involved or whatever. But most people are actually really cool about it. And, you can come to an agreement where it's like XYZ up front, and then I get a percentage on the back end. For the playoffs game, that's like 12.5 million people that view it every time. So, and it's primetime TV.
That helps.
So, I had some music in the NFL season 2022 and 2023. Those 2 seasons, not just that one season. And that definitely primetime television. If you have music on primetime TV, the royalties that you get it's a bigger percentage than just regular cable television, and sometimes it's even bigger than just streaming. Streaming is it all has to do with viewership, right?
Yeah.
If it has a lot of views, you're gonna get paid more. So
Yeah, makes
that's
sense.
right? But I typically do the upfront fee thing just because it's easier and sometimes more worth it for me.
And do you count the money in front of the
Yeah,
people?
that's right.
Like
Well, yeah, it's like, ideally you talk about the budget on the first phone call, you know what I mean? And just clear that out of the way. Cool, sounds good, whatever. We can do it for that much or whatever. And it's like, I love to have that conversation as soon as possible, just get it out the way. And then look, if I'm outside, that's cool. Do we want to work together to try to figure out what's going to work for everybody? I'm also cool with that, But if it's something that, they can't meet me even halfway, it's like, okay, whatever.
you have to. You can't.
But I'm sure you've also experienced this too, which is like sometimes you have to kind of pull favors for people. Somebody that you've worked with for 5 years, 10 years, whatever, for a long time, and oh my gosh, they need something really quick, and you're there, you're available, you can make it happen. That's a good client of yours. Like I do a lot of that too, just quick favors here and there. It goes a long way. And then also, because it's like you do that, and then they'll come back, and
it'll circle back.
It'll circle back. It's in one way or another, right? So
I have a business rule and being a boss.
Yeah.
Employee handbooks, ethics, whatever.
Right.
Don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. Just don't be a dick.
And then I would say, if you don't know what an asshole is, you are an asshole.
Yeah, dude, I know.
It's a terrible shame.
Right.
It's like,
I feel so
what's
bad
an
for you.
asshole, Like, okay, we got a problem here. But, I do
Look
think...
in the mirror, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, right.
Seems like there's not a lot of people who answer it that way.
Yeah, right.
Or at least admit it.
Sure.
Yeah. But it is so true that, you watch these... I had to write these whole employee handbook. Oh, man. Whole thing. And you get done it, and you're just like, what a waste of fucking time.
Right.
You got 2 weeks off, okay? You get all the normal, whatever, sick days and all that. You're working with a bunch of people. Here's what we're selling, and don't be an asshole.
Right.
Done.
Right. Cool.
Done. We're in.
It's not complicated.
No, it isn't. Although you get into today's legal
gets
world,
complicated.
it's a fucking mess.
But it shouldn't be complicated.
No, it shouldn't be. So
Yeah.
let me hear you. Let me think about this as a guy who sold and, managed a lot of guys your age.
Sure.
What do you think the hit rate is? Let's say you meet somebody. Is it 1 out of 5? Is it 1 out of 2? Just out of curiosity,
It's really interesting because if I think about it like that, it's almost hard to think about it like that because it's so, I get grouped into a text message thread or an email thread, or I get a phone call, or and I'm getting somebody else is recommending me, or they just know who I am inherently because of what I do, or it's word of mouth a lot. And so almost everybody that I get in contact with for work, it's like it's not 100% success rate, but it's up there with, if they need something from me, there's a reason that they're hitting me up.
Yeah. And at your age, I would advise, you're a smart enough kid to figure it out. You're going to stretch the limits to get business in.
Totally. Absolutely.
I mean, you're not, an old fart like me,
right?
Who, can just say, say, fuck you.
Right.
I'm not,
Well, okay. There's always room for fuck you.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
And there's always room for no.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're talking about it like that, I don't know, 80%, 70%, something like that. But, yeah, there's definitely times when I say no. And, I remember kind of getting to a point when I could start to say no. That was a turning point for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm stressed out. I'm kind of killing myself with work, staying up every day, trying to make this thing happen, saying yes to everything, just completely over my head, drowning and stuff. And then it's like you finish one and then another thing comes in. And so that goes on for years. You kind of have to really dedicate your entire life to something for a little bit, at least for a couple years, I think. And eventually you're going to get to the point where you can say no. And that's really, it's like a weight off your shoulders.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I mean, if you're not scraping, I say, like, my analogy is this, as a single guy, we're going to fall back. Okay, let's pretend we're back in 1979. Okay. I'm cool. Okay, I'm 19.
Right. Super cool.
Got the dude, got the hairdo, all the I'm cool.
Right.
In my rearview mirror, quite some distance back there. We're going to go back there.
Okay. Yeah.
And
you're still cool, man.
I'm still cool.
Yeah.
I'm still cool. And now I lost track of what the hell I'm even going to say. where we were talking about, success rate.
Sure.
And at that age, the hit to score ratio, was really low. I mean, I would be begging all over town, and it just did not come my direction a lot, and my hit rate was really, really low. But in that end, you have to build like what they call a sales funnel,
Right.
And so you have to have it constantly packed.
Yeah, right.
Right. And and then at a young age, fact of the matter is you tell everybody you got a really high hit rate.
Right.
Everybody's getting false info right, left, and in between.
Absolutely.
And, maybe cut it in half, and cut it in half again, and maybe that's true.
And that's actually what it is, right?
It's
totally.
just complete mess.
Right.
So with you, here you are out there, the numbers that are coming in are relatively secure.
Right.
But are you working the back end? Somewhere there's or maybe it's just you're in the flow enough that it's coming your way. But normally there's something in the background that you're having whispered around or...
Yeah, I mean, I think you really nail it on the head, though. It's just like you're kind of in the, this network that's your network of people who all kind of work with each other. Because when you're doing stuff at this level, right, we'll just say I'm at this certain level. The people who are doing that kind of stuff, it's not a lot of people. So the higher up you go, the smaller the circles get.
Of course.
And that's just like how it goes. So if you know one of those people, next thing you know, you've been doing that for a couple of years, you become one of those people.
Yeah.
So, but with the trailers, that's kind of a different thing. What I was talking about was more like on the commercial side and the music video stuff and post-production stuff. Trailers are really interesting, how they work with at least the trailer music side of it. It's a pretty Wild West culture. Every trailer composer I've worked with is like, I didn't think it was going to turn out to like work like this. So it's a lot of companies, trailer production companies that are kind of competing to get the trailer. So, you have 10 or 15 companies. They're all in Los Angeles. They're all trying to make this trailer happen. And you have Warner Brothers, and they have, $300 million for this movie. There's a percentage of that budget for the movie that's going to go for the marketing, which is like trailers and billboards and in-home and out-of-home and radio and like everything that goes into marketing. Now it's just every app has, advertising. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So these trailer production companies, they have the footage from Warner. Sometimes they're contracted with the film studios to actually, they're the ones who are going to do it, or maybe a director wants a specific company to actually do it. But a lot of times it's like totally cutthroat. Everybody's competing to get the best trailer.
Oh yeah.
They might cut 90 trailers and then pick one of them.
Oof.
And so that's why when a movie's going to come out, you see like 3 or 4 trailers, and sometimes they're different trailer production companies. Yep. So that's all happening. And then the music has to happen. They have to have something to edit the trailer to. So you have to, my job would be like to inspire the editors or the director to, edit a trailer. And sometimes they would kind of have a trailer half done, and then they'd send it to me, and then I would finish the music out and like really bring it home at the end or something, or like make the intro cool, and then they're going to handle the rest of it later. So, and that is pretty crazy because, you can do your best work. You can write 2.5 minutes of incredibly phenomenal orchestral music that just sounds amazing. And it could be your best work, and they might just swap it out with something else. And, unless you're, working directly with the director or the editor, that can happen. So I found that, if I'm working with the editors for trailers, that's the way to get into trailers.
And will you be throwing music? No, you won't be throwing music into multiple companies trying for the one trailer job.
No.
Like ABCD, I'm just going to keep throwing music at everybody.
It would typically be like a trailer production house would contact me, and then we'd try to customize some music for them. And, that could take 6 months sometimes. They're cutting trailers for months and months and months.
I would think so.
Yeah. It's, and they have focus groups. It's probably, in my opinion, I think it's one of the highest art forms with the editing and the marketing and the music, everything that goes into it. It's like, it's got to be fast paced and enticing. There's a form to it. There's genres to it. Like a horror trailer is different from an action trailer, different from a comedy trailer, different from a kids movie trailer. But if you think about a trailer like a song, it's kind of the same. There's an intro, and then there's a build up, and then there's a big climax, and then there's another climax, and then there's an outro. So it's like a movie, right? It's a mini movie. So like at least doing that and getting the opportunities to do that, I got very versed in doing custom music really quickly. So like any genre you need it by tomorrow, like we can make it happen. So I'm glad that I took the steps to make it happen, and I've had the opportunities to do trailers, but it really is, it's kind of a Wild West culture.
Yeah, I would think so because, well, listen, I'm a lover. I mean, who doesn't like trailers?
Right.
I mean,
they're
they're
cool.
just cool. I deliberately get to the movie early because I want to see the trailers.
I hate it when people they're like, oh, the trailers, we got to get there later so we can skip the trailers. And I'm like, no, we got to get there before the trailers start.
And plus, I'll be there with my wife, and we'll be like, whew, that looks like shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
And then other ones you're like, ooh, I want to see that one.
And the ones that look like shit might be better movies than the one that looks good.
The one that brought me in recently was Civil War.
Oh,
because I thought,
did you see it?
No, I did.
You did? I didn't see it yet.
Oh well,
was it good or?
Okay, here's the deal. Now, all right, here's some inner depth with Mark, very deep.
Cool.
I want to see people get killed. Right, I want to see army shit, and we got big guns and all sorts of cool shit.
Right,
that wasn't it.
Yeah.
So it was just sort of like
it's more like political kind of stuff, or
more of a background exploration of some people's philosophies or positions towards it.
Okay,
and that's cool.
Right,
but I wanted to go Gladiator.
It was more of a drama.
Yeah,
it wasn't an action movie like you.
So it missed.
Like they kind of. The trailer might even seem like an action movie.
It misrepresented me because there'd be dudes talking on like those really cool headsets, and like night vision. And I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, this is going to be a cool war movie, right?
I want to watch it. And then it just, poop,
hit and miss.
Yeah. So
did you see Napoleon?
I have yet to see that.
Oh, man. That is a phenomenal
movie.
It?
Yeah. I want to see
If you like history.
Oh, I do. And I've read a lot about him.
You should definitely watch Napoleon.
Yeah.
It's worth that 3 hours of just like time.
I'll lay into it.
It's a good one.
I'll kick back on that one.
And an interesting thing about that, the score, they actually used Napoleon's piano to...
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like a nerd with the scoring stuff. Every time a movie comes out, I'm like, who composed it? Like, and do research and listen to podcasts about they're interviewing the composer. I've always been really interested in film scoring and just all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's your life. That's what you should be
Right,
doing.
right.
You know,
So,
I mean, so now, what would you call your first per se break?
oh, that's a good one. I'd have to think like way back.
Let's say pick a top 10 in the world of kind of getting in there and feeling.
I mean, a big moment for me. Well, it's interesting because it's like, okay, I did something for Jaguar maybe in like 2017, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I did something for Jaguar, and
That is really cool.
But there's, I mean, man, I've worked with like almost every major global brand and every major film store. Yeah, so it's like you can read all about it, but
Adidas, Walt Disney, Hulu. I think did I see Netflix?
Yep, Netflix, Google, HBO.
Yeah, some Clio Awards.
I've got some Clio Awards.
That's just, I mean, Anyway, if you don't know what Clio Awards is, check it out. And what's the other one? I forgot its name. The other awards.
There's the Golden Trailer Awards.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is that's kind of like the only trailer awards that there are.
Okay.
And they put on an event every year, and all the film studio people go there and they present these awards to the best trailer production companies and the people that worked on the trailer. So that was a really cool moment for me winning one of those awards. I was like,
cool.
wow,
I mean,
holy
this
shit,
is,
I won a trailer award. You know what I mean? I was like, I guess I know what I'm doing. The other thing too is like you can have the biggest project happen of your life, and then 20 minutes later, a day later, it's just another regular day. It's like, so, but I think you have to go after those things, and you have to go after the big,
But let's say,
so,
was there an individual contact who helped you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, my buddy Garrett Castillo. He is a trailer editor, and he has been doing it for 25 years. He's cut so many trailers, and he's been doing it forever. He worked at Sony for 12 years, and I kind of got my break, I guess you could say, with trailers was through him and through my friend Amira, who connected us. And I remember like somebody reached out and they're like, you're doing trailer stuff, right? And I was like, yeah. Well, somebody needs this music library organized. It's 5,000 songs. And they gave me his phone number or whatever. And I called him. I was like, hey, so I'm not the guy to organize your library, but I'm the best composer that you're ever going to work with. And I was like very direct with him.
Good for
and
you.
he was like, okay, man, all right, we'll see about that.
Right, yeah, all right.
And I didn't hear from him for like 6 months, but I was like, okay, this is like my in for trailers. And I was like, did I mess it up by saying I couldn't do this thing and whatever? And then all of a sudden he texts me like 6 months later. He's like, hey man, check out this edit. Can you try cutting something to it? I was like, yeah, okay. And did it, nailed it, we landed it, and it was a big one for Hulu. And that kind of set stuff off, because once that happened, it was like every day we were on the phone, just going back and forth. Now I'm in the game. Now I'm doing like presentations, showing music, and then having conversations with the trailer production people. And like, some of these trailer houses, it's like the lead editors there, they have their own thing that they're doing too, that they need stuff for. So okay, the next thing you know, it's like I'm doing the presentation for MGM and the announcement of the James Bond movie, and then it's like Lionsgate. I'm doing their presentation. I'm doing internal sales trailers for Lionsgate. Then I'm doing, Lionsgate trailers that are international. So it's like, that's kind of how it started, though. It's through this guy Garrett.
So are you just you in the business?
It's just me. Yeah.
Do you sub stuff out if you have to?
I do, and it's really, really rare that I do, because it's hard to find people who can operate at the level that you do with music production for trailers. At least that's like a very niche skill, and I probably know 2 people that I trust to be like, hey, can you help me out with this? For commercials, yeah, for sure, I'll hit up people that help me organize something, or if it's too much on my plate and we have a deadline, I have no problem getting help. So, because it's going to make everything go
in your
more
world.
Smoothly,
is it considered appropriate to let the company who hired you know that you're subbing something out, or is it more just the ends justify the means?
It's just the ends define the means, honestly, because they don't really care. you know, and if it was something that I felt I needed to get some clearance on, yeah, here, let's get on a phone call. They'll send you an NDA, then let's get started. You know what I mean?
So that's business.
All that stuff. But, you know, from time to time, I do need some help. But I will say at like 95% of the time, I'm doing everything.
Wow.
Myself.
Wow.
So
I read, of course, you know, when you're younger, and I agree with this.
Yeah.
You know, you're just going balls to the wall.
Right.
I mean, you know, if need be, you're just cranking, and, you know, you're energized.
Right.
You're alive.
Right.
You know, and you know you're alive.
Yeah.
And you feel it.
Mhm.
So tell us about, or anybody about, you know, a younger professional. What do you mean by that? You know, what do you mean by, I use the word balls to the wall, but that's a rather, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think, if you have a direction and you know what you want to do, you should absolutely go after it 150%, because especially if you're at that, when you're younger, like that's the time to do it, you know. You got to start somewhere, and you got to go in that direction 150%, because if you don't do it at that age, before you know it, oh, now you're 25, now you're 30, now you're 35. Not to say you can't do that stuff later.
Yeah.
But you'll be surprised at your own capabilities if you actually put your entire life into something. You kind of, like I was saying, you kind of have to give up, like, you know, the going out with friends kind of thing, and traveling, and like even some family stuff. It's like you have to really have tunnel vision, laser focus, go all the way into it, and see what you find along the way. And eventually you're going to grow a network of people. And that's all. In my experience, it's all about the relationship building, maintaining the relationships with people, being cool, not being a dick
or asshole,
or an asshole. Yeah. It's so, you know, and it's easy to say that, but it's like the more that I think about the path that I've been down, it's just so true.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's like me. You know, I sold my business.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the company's kept me along as a consultant. I think it's, well, a combination of my skill set, and also if somebody calls and says, what do you think of this company? You say it's awesome, and I'm still working with them, which I would say, you know, other than you get into a big corporation, shit's wacky.
Right.
You know, you're just like, you're talking to somebody, you're like, I'm sorry. I don't want to be rude, but what the fuck do you do? I can't figure out your title.
Oh man, I know exactly. You know, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm vertical marketing at the international markets and human resource. And what the fuck is that?
You
know,
you know? And they're telling you what to do sometimes. You know,
and you're like,
why do I have to listen to you?
You don't know shit. You
know? You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But but that's part of it too. And then just like, you know, being respectful in those situations, and like,
play the game.
Absolutely play the game.
You know, listen, you're a kid, 16. And you know, I was a bellhop, you know, for 7 years on the Jersey Shore.
Wow.
So, you know, and by the time, you know, I used to joke I'm a bellhop, and then like halfway through, I just told my boss, you know, now I'm a junior bellhop captain.
Yeah.
Never got changed anyway,
Right.
but he said, all right, Mark, you can be that.
Yeah. You
my
can be
last 2 years, senior.
Yeah. Bellhop.
Just made it out of nowhere.
Right.
But anyway, so that's hustle.
Totally.
You know, you want to get people up and down that damn elevator. You want to create a sense of comfort. You know, you want to get to the room. And of course, the awkward thing, which is business, is you do not leave that room until they give you some cash.
Your tip, right?
You're checking the toilet.
Sure.
You're checking the TV.
Right.
You're, you know, making sure, you know, and finally they'll be like, oh,
yeah. Oh, here you go. Right.
Yeah. And if they stiff you,
Uh-huh.
they had to call down for ice in our place. Maybe your ice will wait a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe you won't get your ice today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's going to be dry whiskey today.
Right.
But
yeah.
Anyway, so but I had developed sort of you know, I was one of 8 kids, and so I was not a good student like you, and I had developed just a personality that was flexible, could move around. Obviously, that was the case with you. You're 16.
Right.
And wait, now, did you finish high school? You said high school.
I finished high school.
Okay.
I finished high school. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
You said you were a little bit of maybe not a kid who read the books all the time.
No, right. I was not very academically smart. But it's interesting because like the older I've gotten, I'm so like into science and history, and that's what I do in my free time, honestly, is like just I'm a nerd, man. So, but it's like when you're a kid at that age, and the school system isn't really set up for somebody who might be creative.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's changing now, but
Very much so.
yeah, at that time it was just, I had my only thing. I was like, I'm gonna do music. I'm gonna do something with music. That's my only thing that I care about. It's the only thing I'm gonna do. But it's like,
Start with a band.
yeah,
Start with a band.
Sure, right. But you got to make money, right? So
Yeah.
I was a kid, and I was working at a pool store selling pool chemicals and
Big
installing
money.
pools.
Big money.
So not really. It was
No, I'm
like
sure.
nothing, man.
Horror.
Yeah, but yeah. So you even when I was doing that, I was still like, I have to do this so I can make money, so I can stay alive, and then just do music when I get home. And yeah, okay, if I was 16 too, I would get home from school and I would just put my laptop in my headphones and I would try to make music every day, all the time. I was like obsessed with it, That's all I wanted to do all the time. And yeah, so I think if you get obsessed with something, you'll find success at some point. It might not be tomorrow,
Mhm.
and it might not be even in 5 years, but the rule, the 10,000 hours thing is so
hear, hear.
real. So
Spot
real.
on.
Yeah.
I notice it with salespeople very deliberately, where you're good at like 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're very good, at 5. You're excellent after that. Because now not only you gain your knowledge, you've gained this sense of the flow, and then all of a sudden you become intensely confident. Now I have value.
Right.
When I talk to someone, I'm not just some kid,
No.
Saying, oh, give me an order. Now
Right.
you're flowing.
Totally.
You got your shit together.
You got your shit together.
Yeah.
And you can trust yourself.
Yeah.
And you have, I always think about, like, if I have that, what's it called again? Imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah. Here.
I might wake up tomorrow and be like, well, I guess I don't know what I'm doing, but you do, and I always look at like what I've done in the past and then try to plan out what I want to do in the future, and, have a list of goals. And
What would you say that are? What 5 years? That's a
in
long
5
time out
years,
for a
yeah,
guy.
it is a long time. I want to be, I'm doing trailers and music videos and commercials and TV shows, but I want to score a full feature film at some point. That's like my big one that I have. But
There's some big names that are doing that.
yeah, right. It is a big name thing.
Well, cool.
And
So
so
why not?
yeah, right. Why not? And it, before it's such a small community of people. I know people who are scoring movies. I know people who are scoring TV shows, and sometimes I've helped them out, but to get into the position of like, you're the guy that you get hit up to make that happen. That's where I see myself, at least in a few more years.
Yeah, you just have to hone your skill.
Yeah.
And shit.
Right.
Through my 50s, part of the thing that I loved about my business was the endless ability to learn.
Oh yeah.
It
right.
almost went
Totally.
beyond. It went beyond like, okay, so I'm selling bags, right?
Yeah.
And it was specialty coffee bags, that little belly button in a bag, we had a patent on that.
Wow.
So yeah, so
Okay.
that was, but it's boring,
Right.
So what you have to do is, all of a sudden, by like my 5th or 6th year, I'm like really digging on like, what's the film? What's the adhesive?
Right.
What are all the little tests they do? And now you're finding yourself in a certain way that the concept of kind of making money,
Yeah.
it becomes I want to master this thing.
Yeah.
And the result is obviously you want to make money.
Right.
But that's not what's consciously
No.
on my mind.
Right.
It's just
Right.
it's just being really good at it.
Becoming a master at it.
Yeah. And that takes time.
It does take time, but I totally know what you mean of like, yeah, you constantly learning, and it's like a muscle. And if you stop working out that muscle,
You're
you're going to lose it, and so you have to practice that, and you have to learn when there's new technology that comes out, figure it out, all the stuff that's happening with AI.
Yeah.
A lot of people in my position creatively are freaking out, but it's like, it's not going away. And
No.
so figure out how to integrate it into your workflow, but yeah, the constant uphill thing of, I always say it's like the second that you think that you've made it, it's like you've already lost, because no, there's always more stuff to do. And if you get stuck in that, you're just always going to be here. You want to be like always climbing and looking for the next thing, because if you just get stuck there and you're so comfortable here, it's an ego thing. You got to let go of yourself a little bit, and
You stand still or trot.
Right.
Remember this. somebody's sprinting.
Oh,
That's it,
100%. Yes.
And you are just, I remember being a young sales guy. I said this before, and I was in my office, and at the time they were saying how like, oh, all this quality control systems coming out of Japan are going to be the best thing ever. And we did, Americans mimicked it. But I remember selling, this is when I was like 28 or 29. And I thought, like my competition isn't in the office here. There's some dude in Japan who's right now playing the game.
Right.
That's the guy you got to beat.
That's the guy you got to beat.
Yeah. And that.
It's not here in this environment.
I wanted to shoot high. I didn't want to say, oh, I'm going to beat these guys. I wanted to go international.
Right.
I wanted to whoop up on their ass everywhere.
Go big.
Yeah.
Right. Go big or go home, man.
Yeah.
Seriously. It's like, there's always and then you get to the top and it's like, okay, what else is there?
What do you think created that drive?
Oh, I think it's just like an inherent thing. I've always been a hard worker. I grew up and it was like, if I mowed the lawn, I would get paid in like a coupon to go buy a donut. Like my parents were always very like, you have to work hard. And so that was like instilled in me really at a young age. And I pride myself in that. It's like, I will grind until I get the results that I'm looking for within a project or whatever. Like that kind of goes into every area of my life. If I'm going to try to figure out how to do something, I'm going to do everything in my power to make it happen.
That can be, obviously.
I think it's a personality thing. Honestly, it's like either you're kind of born with it and some people aren't. There's people who are meant to be leaders and make shit happen. And then there's people who are, on a different path.
There's an old sales book that used to say, fly with the eagles, don't walk with the ducks. And, whatever. I think people are designed that way.
Yeah.
I know I was, it just was in there. There was nothing going.
Right.
And in fact, I remember, and you may have had this experience. I was freaking out. I had, whatever it was, 4 kids at the time. I'm borrowing money.
That's crazy.
I'm driving over 520 and I am flipping out, anxiety, depression. And, just why did I put myself here? Why? And I just remember driving over to the bridge. Here's 520 and just thinking there's a reason I'm here. There's some reason. You kept pushing the ball. Careful what careful what you wish for. You might get it. I got it, and then thankfully I was, lo and behold, I wanted another thing, but and that, I think that is innate. I mean, it's nature, nurture. I think there's clearly a nurture side of it.
Right.
But I think if you hit the earth here with little jet packs on,
yeah,
I don't know how you turn them off.
Right. Yeah. It's just like, you don't have another option. You know, my whole thing was just like, I never had a plan B. It was like, I gotta figure this out. This is the only, I'm in Los Angeles. How am I gonna, survive and do it through sound? And you figure it out eventually, but the careful what you wish for thing is very true in both ways, positive and negative. So I think, you talk about anxiety and depression and like, mental health problems and stuff. If all you're doing is working and then you have all this life stuff happening, that's just a recipe for, failure in a way, but also it's like, eventually, hopefully you figure out how to maintain balance within your life, whether that's you work straight for 2 months and then you take a week off, or you have a schedule. It's like, I wake up, you take a walk, or you go to the gym 3 times a week. Something in your life that isn't like, working all the time, especially with the creative people these days. We're all looking at screens all the time inside, and it's just like a grind. Some people, they get to go out and direct and be on set. And that's not what I do. I don't, all the post-production stuff is on a computer. So, do as much as you can that day to get it done. And if you don't finish it, that's cool. Like, you'll get it done when it needs to get done. And, but make time for yourself for sure.
It's really hard.
It's hard to do, but
really hard.
After a while, you start to figure that out. Because for me, it's like, if I don't do that, I'll burn out, and I'm going to operate at a much lower level for maybe even a couple weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I believe, as an older guy, I am a big believer that it builds.
Yeah.
You may not notice it in you.
Sure.
But little layers are getting put on top of you. You're grinding, and at a given moment, you're like, yeah, I'm doing cool.
Yeah.
And then for me, it was late 30s, early 40s, where, you know, I had an episodic, what I would call, you know, big like emotional fallout.
Wow.
You know,
really?
I'd come out here, 3 kids when I was out here. Of course, my problem is reproduction. I then had 2 more.
Oh my gosh.
So now I got 5 kids.
Oh,
And, you know, I'm traveling heavily.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
who knows? We cross these weird bridges.
Yeah, right.
And by the way, I say the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, that's
Oh,
just
right.
cool.
Right.
That's just cool.
Yeah.
I can just say to you. Everybody says, "Oh, having a kid is great." I just say, just do it. And, you know,
Yeah.
give me your comment. You know, and you know, I could kill it with cliches.
Yeah, totally. It's like that's what everybody says, right?
Yeah,
But-
you're like,
yeah.
yeah, okay, old man. You know, oh,
No.
I saw God there. You know, and you
Yeah.
know, I saw a lot of shit.
Right.
But in the end, that, you know, talking to therapists and all that stuff, it was just kind of like,
Oh, yeah.
this shit's been building like a fucking volcano.
It's gonna erupt, man.
It's going to pop off.
Right.
It's going to get you.
Right.
And so you're in LA, right? And you're a young guy. And I just you must feel, there must be a level of insecurity. I mean,
Sure.
I can't imagine it. Now, you're saying you know, you get a lead, you get going.
Right.
But now you're working with somebody, I'm presuming some pretty big names.
Sure. Right.
And are you interacting with some of them directly?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that happens. And
Like who?
I mean, I've worked with some really big directors.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to like honestly look at a list of names, but I've worked with Offset, Young Thug, a number of Billboard artists. Like I honestly would have to look at my credit list because there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of like go into work mode a little bit, and like it doesn't phase me like what's in front of me, who's in front of me. Like it's just let's go and let's work and let's finish this thing. And I'm gonna put forward like my best effort to just be really clear and concise and upfront. Maybe there's a little humor involved.
Yeah, you got to.
You know, going back and forth. I just want to get to know the person a little bit so that we can have some rapport for the day that we're working together, or the week or month or 2 months, right? It's like, so get that kind of thing going first. Whoever it is, the biggest person in the world, the smallest person, like treat them the same, and like just treat it like a working relationship, like you're here to do a job. That's what I see it as.
Oh,
So
it is that.
it is that. And it's like anything beyond that, it's like, yeah, maybe at a certain point there was some nerve-wracking insecurity like you're talking about.
Sure.
But you kind of learn to deal with that because, you know, you get off the phone with these people or whatever, you get out of the room with them, and then you're going, okay, how do I put this thing together? And then it's like, okay, it's go time to get started with
And you're
the
dealing,
job. So
I think it's relatively natural, I
Right.
think, when you're dealing with older people and you're a younger person,
Sure.
there's an element of just fear.
right, yeah.
Just am I being judged?
Yeah, am I saying the right things? Am I
Yeah.
doing the right things? I
Yeah.
felt that for sure. I think over time though too, it's like it's that thing. It's like, okay, everything's building and compounding on myself and the relationships. And then, okay, once you've been working with somebody for a couple, you know, projects or whatever, it's like you kind of get how they operate, and all of that stuff goes out the window. But again, I try to become friends with somebody first before anything. And sometimes people don't want to become your friend.
No, they don't. Some
And
of them
that's
don't.
cool. That's totally fine. You're just here to do what you're here to do, and I'm a part of the process. I'm still gonna treat everybody with respect, but yeah, that was something that I had to learn too. It's like not everybody wants to be your friend, you know,
They're not
as
you.
friendly as you want to be. You
Yeah.
know,
It just
it's
ain't
like
happening.
Yeah, it's not happening. So, you know, if I like working with cool people for sure.
Well, that's easily said.
Obviously,
Yeah.
And but you end up working with people who, you know, there's narcissists out there and things
yeah.
like that. So, yeah, I typically end up working with the same people that I enjoy working with, and it's been working out.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the? I mean, these are things that I studied in sales.
Sure. Right.
There's 6 profiles of every person you talk to.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You know, so you're categorizing them.
Right.
If you ever get a chance, read them, because you know, one is like the emotional buyer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're just, you know, oh, I meet you and it's really great, and you know, right away they want emotional feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then there's the what is it? First to market. Who are the people that are sitting out front of the Apple store?
Right.
They have to have the
Have to
newest.
get it.
I have to have it.
Right.
You know, then there's the accountant. Couldn't give a shit about any of that.
Right.
What's the money? You know, the other one is the technical buyer. Oh, he wants every goddamn thing. You know,
All the specs.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, drilling you constantly. And then I can't remember, there's two more, but I that's one thing I read about. And of course, they're all blends of them.
Yeah.
But I used to just like, in my mind, be kind of like talking to somebody. I'd be like, oh, okay. So this is, you know, emotional accountant.
Right.
Now that's trippy.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a twist.
Yeah. You know,
what I
you're
mean?
like, wait a minute, he's crying and now he's reading books. You know, he's, well, wait, that doesn't make sense. You know,
yeah, right.
And, you know, the thing is that there's this sense of, are you deceiving? No.
Sure.
You're just, you know, you're just appealing to a personality.
Okay. I totally know what you're talking about. And it's like, yeah, the appealing to a personality thing is part of it for sure. And it's hard. It's weird to like just say that, but I feel like you kind of, when you meet somebody, you get a vibe for them within the first minute, 5 minutes, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's probably how the entire relationship is going to go, the working relationship, right? So, you know, that kind of thing. But that just goes with being personable.
Yep.
You know, and reflecting them a little bit.
Yep.
Because they want to, you know, be working with somebody that they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So I'm all about that. And I think it's got me pretty far, I'll say, to understand that the relationship at the beginning and throughout is super important, because they're going to come back, you know, returning clients and things like that. But yeah, every person that I work with, it's like, oh, you know, somebody I can tell I can tell where they're coming from, you know, how much experience they might have, what they're looking for. I try to get as many details. You know, what exactly are we talking about here? Pick their brain a little bit.
Are you a note taker?
I take notes all the time.
I don't know anybody who's successful who doesn't.
I mean, you should see. I have notebooks of notes every time I'm on the call with a client. Notes, you know.
Notes. Do you organize well?
Not so much. It's interesting.
That's the artist problem.
Yeah. I'm not very organized when it comes to like I guess note taking, but it's like, yeah, I have
but I mean, you know, like calendars and alphabetizing.
It's the scheduling kind of stuff for sure. It's like, and that sometimes it's even left up to, you know, the production company they have a production calendar, and I hope that we follow it. Nobody ever follows their production calendars ever, but
nobody ever submits artwork in our business correctly. They fuck it up every time.
Yeah, right. So that's the thing though too, is it's like everybody's got to be happy with it. So but it's like when I get something in, I want to turn it around as fast as possible. That's always been where I've been at with it. It's like, get it in, let's do it, let's knock it out, let's get some opinions on this as soon as possible. So it's like what I'm doing, I'll get it to a point that I think is perfect, or at least somewhat there. And then it's like, okay, let's have a meeting about it. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what's wrong with it. You know, sometimes they'll just send me an email, or it's like, hey, let's talk about this. Let's figure out the direction for this. You know, I'm an open book, and I'm very open to changes. I will delete my project and start over if we're not headed in the right direction. So I'm very much just like, what are you imagining for this? So I want all the information before I even get started. And that's cool. But also there's times where they specifically hire me because they go, hey man, have fun, free reign. We want to see, go for it. We trust you. And I love those projects for sure. They're fun. But I think within everything that I do, there's always an element of like getting creative, problem solving. I've told people this before. My job is technically, it's like I just solve problems, right? Sound problems and musical problems. So,
well, you know, it's interesting you say that, because having done it all my life, it's you know, service and repairing when you fuck up, because you know, everybody fucks up, and now the question is who responds to it.
Sure, right.
It's amazing, you know, if you go through you know, a lot of the people who are, you know, you're buying from at a retail level, you know, now the ability to return things now is pretty easy, right? Obviously,
right.
And someone says you can't return it. It's like, what? That's not the way we play the game anymore. You know, you can't do that, you know? And I think that service level has been pounded into you now, especially your generation more than mine. But now I've quickly acclimated to it. Right. But somebody like bitches at you. I bought a boots back to some store. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, So why are you bringing them back? I'm like, I don't like them.
I don't like them, right?
He goes, huh, well, that's something else. And I said,
Okay.
can I have my money back? You know, I mean,
right.
What do you mean? And now that stamp on I'm never going back to that goddamn
No,
place.
why would you? Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
So now, your world, and it's amped up though, I think now
Right.
services people are so aware of it
Sure.
that, I think what you're doing is appropriate. And if you fuck it up, then just fix it.
Fix it. Yeah, totally. And sometimes I'll just say it's like, it might not even be my fault that something got fucked up. When I say it's like you're working with a bunch of people, there could be 100 people on a project. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so 10 of those people have one person that they report to, and then the other 10 have one person to report. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of people up the chain. And
who's doing what again?
right. I know. It's
I'm
like,
sorry.
Seriously. Dude, I've been like, oh my gosh. I've been sent invoices from people, and I'm like, I'm not the production company. I'm the sound guy. I think you have the wrong person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
From like an editor, I'm like, oops, I wasn't supposed to see that, and you sent it to the wrong person.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that kind of stuff happens. It's pretty rare when it happens, but yeah, I mean, I could have worked on something, perfected it, and oops, it was the wrong, edit or something, and that's not my fault. That's not the person who sent it to me's fault. It's just the pace at what happens is so quick. You have to be so fast. Things like fall through the cracks. It just happens. But nobody really cares unless it's like it's due today in an hour. You know what I mean? And there's things that have happened there. It's like, we have an hour to fix this before it gets blasted out. So you have to be really quick on your feet. And I don't think people really take it too heavily if you mess something up, because it's just like, oh, hey, can we fix this really quick? Something's wrong here,
That separates you from the crowd.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it separates you, period.
Sure, right. Yeah, so there's that. I mean, it's crazy, man. Every project is different. That's one thing I find really cool with what I do is like, I think I know what's around the corner, but I never know what's around the corner. And it's always a challenge, which is fun for me because I get to, challenge myself and approach something in a way I know what I'm doing, but there's this new media in front of me that I have to, bring to life through sound and music.
Did I see on your website you put some rates on it? I think somewhere in there I saw something. I don't get to talk about the rates.
Yeah. Right.
I thought so.
There's no rates on my website specifically, but there's a contact form, and it's just like, put your name and your email, tell me what it's about, write me a little message, and then select like which specific type of thing you need from me, which is if it's post-production audio, if it's dialogue mixing, if it's custom music or scoring, sound design, broadcast deliverables. Like, I just need a little bit more information so that I can approach you and we can begin talking.
You can turn a quote like bang.
Immediately, yeah. So
you know the game.
I know the game. And so I need to. Those are the things I need to know from you. Is what exactly do you need from me? And sometimes they don't know. So I get on the phone with them and talk about. And it's like, okay, give me 15 minutes. I'll come up with a quote or a bid, and I'll send it to you, and then we'll see what's going on. So, I mean, that's the thing. I appreciate people who are upfront. Honestly,
well,
no, in a way. So
I guess maybe it's just from where you're from. A lot of it, when I first moved out here. People they just took offense at some of the things I'd say, and I would be like, I didn't mean it offensive, but I learned, okay, I've offended individual. Now, my first thing that came to my mind is, you're pussy, you can't handle it. I'm just laying it on you, you know, and then I learned as time went on a little bit of, when in Rome, be like the Romans, if you want to win this game. But it will come out, and that'll be like, someone says, I think, and I go, I don't, or I think we should, or this is the right way to do it. And I don't know, out here, there's a little thing called it's called Northwest Nice.
Okay. It's different from Midwest Nice.
Yeah. I don't know what
Minnesota
it is.
Nice.
I've traveled. I've sold in 48 states in the country.
Okay, so yeah,
there's these cultures.
Sure.
And when you're out here, it's functional. Bill Gates seems to have survived. And Bezos, and no shortage of people who really can kick it.
Right.
But when you meet people, there tends to be this original warmth and accessibility, and then it just falls away into a more private position.
Interesting.
And so if you come at them like I do, like, hey, what's up going on? What's going on? Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so where are you from? That's cool. I know some people over there. Where do you kids go to school? Oh, really? Where'd you go to college? I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just rapid fire.
Sure. Yeah.
And in a weird way, a little tiny bit of conflict in that conversation.
Sure.
Just a little bite to it.
Yeah.
It makes you closer.
Yeah.
Because you kind of, you're just sort of like, okay, there's a little bit of like this, whose dick's bigger.
Sure.
A little bit of that
Absolutely.
going on, just dude to dude. And then you like them.
Yeah.
They did a little banter with you.
Sure.
That's harder to get out here.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's great people,
Yeah.
which I thankfully let myself learn,
Okay.
also in the recovering community.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, here goes something. Back home, if you go to a meeting,
Mhm.
it's 1 hour. Okay. We are in and out. You are not fucking around. We're all
Right.
getting out of there at 8 on the button. Out here, 90 minutes.
Okay.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just bolt. I
Get out of
can't.
here, yeah.
What are
Right.
we talking about?
Right. Let's get out of here. Right.
I mean, I'm done hearing
Oh,
about
yeah.
your emotional challenges. Okay,
Yeah.
listen, you get shit faced too much.
Right. I know.
You take too many drugs.
I know. That's why we're here. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like-
we go on?
I know.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so that's one place where little things like that you
For sure.
notice it. But my experience with the Midwest is it's a little more chill, but not that chill.
Yeah. No.
There's a directness in there. There's
There
like
is. Well, it's the passive aggressive thing.
yeah,
You know, that's a part of it for sure.
Yeah.
But then there's the Minnesota goodbye is the thing. It takes
What's
fucking
that?
45 minutes to get out the door because everybody's got to hug everybody. And it's like, you hug somebody, oh, love you so much, see you later. And then like, as you're opening, they're like, oh, I heard you got a new rake or so like
Yeah,
a new
you're like, oh,
lawnmower. It's
fuck.
like, okay, let's get out of here. Like that's a real thing in Minnesota. And then,
I remember
the Minnesota nice thing is it's just, you know,
Then
oops,
there's
sorry, excuse me.
oh yeah,
That kind of shit.
that
yeah.
gets you places. Though.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, ma'am. Open
Right.
the door.
Yeah.
Shit gets you places. But I remember being, in St. Louis and there being like the show me state.
Mm.
It is.
Mhm.
There's an element of just like, you're not going to go to Missouri and knock down an order in 2 visits. No. You're going to go there and you're going to show me. And that means show me you,
Yeah. Right.
And once you lock in, you're in, but there's no, it's, a little bit of like, yeah, okay, but let's visit.
Yeah, I could tell you're a sales guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
But not one that it believes very much like you.
Sure.
You are what you are,
Yep.
and don't be an asshole. I'm very engaged. People flip me out and they're cool. That's why I'm doing this.
Right.
I talk to you for an hour and a half and it's like, whoa, so, I love that. I just love hearing it, like, how the fuck did you do what you're doing? That's part of the
Right.
thing we're talking about.
Right.
And like, it's like, not only that, philosophically, psychologically, I don't know what.
Right.
What's going on in that head?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what?
Well, you got to think about things differently when you're on a different path
Yeah.
that isn't typical. You kind of have to have thick skin, and you got to figure out things quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big part of it. But I've always said it's like I could never work in an office or like a corporate job or something like that. I maybe at some point, but it's like totally not cut out for me and what I
You
do.
couldn't do it.
Like I wouldn't be able to. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy doing it.
I
so.
did 12 years
Mm.
of working for a company out of Milan.
Wow.
So they like if you go to Starbucks,
Mhm.
all the machines that make the bags, and
Wow.
all like $500,000, $750,000 machines. But I'm under this Milanese thing. But I have, now I'm married, I have a couple kids. So now I remember this feeling of like, I love my family, but I'm trapped. And there was a lot of guilt around that. Like,
Mm.
why can't you just settle in and smell the roses? But I couldn't.
You couldn't.
And at 37, the wheels just, the brain popped,
Hmm.
and I told my wife I'm going to leave the job, and she was 2 months pregnant.
Wow.
And I said to her, I won't do it if you're cool. And she says, no. I remember, this is a good thing. I have a helpful partner. She's like, make sure I have health benefits for my kids. Basic enough money to basically, get my shit going on. So it's got a couple shittier cars. And, but that's just where it popped. I had to wait a year for a non-compete, 38, back into my basement, selling shit for them.
Wow.
Humbling, but fuck this.
Right.
Like maybe later than you, but it's all I can do. I got no choice.
Right.
Moved out here and eventually bought out the investors and borrowed a bunch of money, and then got to where the point that, like I said, my valve is world class. I put it in these bags. I sell them. 4,000 people. Took a long time to build them up.
I'm sure.
That's little tiny guys, and you just realize that's, I like a lot of them, but it's just like, I happen to think I'm at least as smart as you. I might have the balls to say I am smarter. But let's not get into that.
No, right. I would not want to be,
No, we're not.
And also, I mean, everybody I've ever worked with has been cool. That's the truth.
There has been no just punching the balls.
I mean, that happens, man, when you get punched in the balls and, sometimes there's nobody there to help you get back up. And that's what, you gotta fail a lot to succeed, because the overnight success thing, everybody says it. Nobody's really an overnight success. It's 10 years in the making. And then you get one big break thing, and then that's cool. But it's about like keeping it going too. I want to be working on big projects. I want to be working on cool projects. You know what I mean? And it took me a long time to get there.
And you stated where you want to go.
Yeah. And you state where you want to go, and you kind of figure out the path to get there, because there's not one right way to do it. But yeah, it's a lot of, you try your hardest, do as best as you possibly can. You're going to fail. You will. It's just going to happen. And so you eventually learn to deal with that. And eventually you'll get the big wins. There's things that have happened that I was not even aware of. Like, oh, okay, that happened. They just used my song in some big whatever. And it's like, that's cool. And tomorrow I could get hit up by somebody, and now I'm doing this big project. And so,
but laser focus is
laser focus, absolutely. But
that is true of, I know a lot of businesses who fuck up because they try and be everything to everybody, and you're just shit.
Right.
You just stay one spot. And in our world, a lot of people have happy feet. They don't want to stay in one spot.
Right.
Even guys who've been, to me, 40, and just all of a sudden they're not hitting it, but they've built it. They're right there, and then they're just like, I'm going to try something else.
Yeah, you can't do that, man.
No.
You have to stick with it for sure, through the thick and thin, and there's valleys, right? I mean, it's, it's just a part of it. And eventually it's going to even out, but there might be some really deep valleys and a lot, like massive mountains to climb. But then you get to the summit and you look and you can see, and you're going, wow, this is really cool. Like, for a while. And then you're like, okay, what's next? How do I keep doing this? How do I continue doing what I'm doing? You
got to go get another 5 people. You got, or maybe lucky and you catch a break, and you can, you're super focused. You just tilt a little off, and catch another angle at it.
Dude, the angles thing is such a big thing, because, it's just through doing what I do, there's so many things just within sound. It seems like it's just sound, but there's so many areas of it. And being able to pivot a little bit here and there, figure things out, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but, have most of them in one and a couple in another.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like, don't spread yourself too thin, but also, like you're saying, it's like, you might be able to go 10 degrees this way, see what's going on. If it's not working out, maybe come back.
Yeah.
But if you have that straight line and you're on a path, and you trust yourself, you kind of let go of some things that you don't have control over, and you do your best, and you just go for it. Absolutely, you can make it happen.
Okay, now this is a question that you've probably answered.
Yeah,
but more let's say at a more philosophical rather than executional level,
Sure.
what do you, outside of work, how do you stimulate your mind in ways that are kind of allow you to access, more your, outside of work, your, sort of philosophical or basic interest thing that
Sure.
that sucks you away from work?
From work, yeah. I mean, the gym is a big one. It's like such a cliche answer, but it's so true. Just
It is for
exercise
me.
in general. Hiking, get out there in the sun, hike, do that for an hour. I really love to cook.
Oh, do you?
I love to cook, man. So that's a good like distraction from work kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then just like having a pretty decent, friend group and people around that you can go do stuff with. Get away from it though,
Yeah.
and-
What was the thing? You remember what were you saying that you like as hobbies? I'm trying to remember. You said it earlier. It wasn't history. It was
history and science.
There we go.
Yeah,
No,
science,
you were
or-
getting into science.
Oh man, yeah, I read a lot of history books and science books and listen to all kinds of
Like the real deal. I mean,
Yeah.
This is like
yeah.
this isn't science fiction. This is
No.
Yeah.
I'm heavily interested in actual like physics and history. It's like
cool.
when I have time to read or those are the kind of books that I'm reading.
Mhm.
And I think it's like I think about space a lot and how we're all on this planet and there's so much that we don't know, and it's really interesting to me to just every week there's something new, and it's a fun thing for me. It's,
And
it's totally a
let me tell you,
hobby, but yeah.
Oh, these dudes were like astrophysicists and shit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they are doing shit that's just like
It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
The
and
technology that we have now, how
And-
can you not be interested in like,
it's right there.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the AI thing.
Yeah.
There's a thing in business where when someone's going to, invest in you or something like that, they'll say, what are the environmental issues that effectively that could fuck you up?
Mhm.
So immediately I thought, well, I don't have any freaking chemicals flowing out the back door.
Right.
I don't have any kids in here that I'm, no, that's not it. It's
Yeah.
outside events that could environmentally impact your business. And what would they be? Say in
Gotcha.
the case of my business would be the government comes along and says you're not allowed to have any more bags.
Yep.
Okay, like
Yep.
now. All of a sudden, that's environmental.
Yeah.
There's a world war. That's environmental.
Mhm.
For you, the environmental right now is AI.
Absolutely.
So
100%.
now, it ain't like you said, it ain't going
Not
anywhere.
going anywhere,
So
yeah.
now, and I firmly believe that, well, maybe this is a huge argument, but I think that the ability to create in free flow form as a human being and with the assist and combined with AI will just create a better thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's apparent right now in a lot of ways. I agree with that for sure. And if
Let's hope.
yeah, well, it's like if the AI thing is there and it's going to help me do my job faster, and it's going to do one specific thing of these million steps that I have to do. It's going to do that one thing faster. Absolutely. I'm going to use it. If it doesn't, I'm not going to use it. It's just like a tool, some new software comes out that does something better. I'm probably going to end up integrating that into my workflow. You know what I mean? So, but it is scary. A lot of people are like, fuck AI. Like, all these artists have worked their whole lives to get to where they're at. And now they have these big, massive corporations, doing art. And it's like, okay, that is an argument for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But if you can find a way to integrate it into your workflow, you're going to be ahead of everybody else who isn't doing that already, who has the attitude that, screw AI. So
I'm also a believer that, okay, so we got this massive AI.
yeah,
Well, okay, who's going to be better at it?
right.
Meshing it in.
Sure.
And that may be, the old dude, maybe the 64-year-old guy's like, this is fucked up, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well, the 28-year-old guy's
Right.
like, I got a long run here.
Yeah.
I'm going to get this shit together.
Yeah, figure it out. It's like the internet. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the Wild West right now with AI, and that's what the internet was, in the internet bubble and all that stuff that happened
yeah.
there. So it's like,
I
and
got out of college.
you were right in that.
Yeah,
you
man.
know?
I got
Yeah.
out of college. No Starbucks, no Costco, no Target, no mobile phone, no computer, and you could smoke bogues in the office. And I smoked bogues back then. It was a cigarette party.
Yeah, man.
Somebody comes in and is like, you know, do you have to smoke in here? You'd be like, well, you know, yeah. You want to leave? That's cool.
Right.
You know, restaurants, bogue away.
Yeah. Yep.
Airplanes. That's the one I love.
Oh, that's crazy.
You know, just
That's
right.
so wild.
And then they had the airplane split. The back is smoking. The front is not smoking. I'm thinking, you know, or whatever, you know, have at it, you know, but that shit's fucked up.
Yeah.
But you know, it's slowly, half restaurants, half smoking, half not. And then I would be in the smoking session and somebody would like lean over and say like, hey man, you know, that smoke, you know, it's kind of like bothering me.
Right.
And you would be like, sounds like tough shit for you.
Right. It doesn't, right. I can smoke in here. Right.
I'm in.
Right.
I'm in, you know, I'm allowed. Thank God they fucking threw it all out.
Yeah. I remember growing up when I was a kid, there were still a couple of like smoking restaurants left. I remember though, like when they were like totally cut that shit out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's still funny. So in the airplanes, it's still, they have the no smoking. Yeah, it's like, okay. You know what I mean?
Are we ready to get rid of that? I mean, come on, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, but, so anyway, the you know, the technology thing, the other thing I always like to ask somebody your age is, to what extent, you know, does your generation achieve some, you know, some generalized comment that you think is like, okay, there's truth to it, but this is bullshit?
In what way?
Well, you know, like, okay, whatever generation, you're lazy, you're entitled, you don't want to fucking work hard. You know, somebody says I got to have this massive life balance thing going on.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, to you, first, just for my opinion.
Yeah.
When you start saying that about the generation before you, you're fucking old.
Yeah, you're old, man.
Yeah, like 1960s, my mom, my brothers are doing acid, and blah, blah, blah. A couple of them end up being with Harvard. One, you know, one's a neurologist, you know, and it's like mom's in the Catholic Church praying for their souls.
Sure.
They made it.
Right.
You know, me, I was the hipster. I was whatever, you know, whatever, yuppie, you know, cocaine. We loved that, chewed that shit up.
Yeah.
I lived.
Right. Now
So
here you are.
Now
Right.
what are we going to say? Oh,
Well,
these guys have got it so fucked up. And it's
Right.
like, well, it's their reality.
Yeah. I think there is generational things that are different. You know, people have different cultures that they grow up in.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's like everybody's an individual, whether you like it or not. And everybody has a different path that they're on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think if you use that as an excuse at whatever age you are, that's the bad. That's the negative part.
I do think right now that's probably a more a fair generalization in that age group that maybe you're in from, I don't know, 22 to 30. But then my attitude is like, okay, I don't agree with it.
Sure.
I think you should be busting your balls doing everything
Absolutely right.
Now, the other problem is I raised them. See, now that's a little bit of a twist.
Right. So whose
you know,
whose fault is that really?
I'm going to
you know
shit
what I mean?
all over them, but I made them.
Yeah, right.
And I raised them.
Yeah.
So we got a little problem there.
Right.
You know, but we're going to pass over that.
Yeah, sure.
It's the school's problem.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Or it's, you know, whatever.
It's
you know,
anything but me. Right?
Anything but me.
Yeah, right.
You know, so now, but I also have this feeling like reality will catch up.
Totally, absolutely.
You know, there will come a time in your life where whatever it may be, but maybe more commonly you settle in, you buy a house, maybe you have a kid, whatever it may be. Maybe you don't have a kid and you just have a partner.
Right.
Now reality starts to kick in.
Sure.
You know, we got to pay the rent.
Yep.
You know, we can't just blow out, you know, hey, I'm just going to, you know, I want to go out and hike every day at 3:00.
Yeah.
Okay, well, go hike every day at 3:00. How about this? Why don't you hike all day every day?
Sure. Right.
Because you're not going to get paid here anymore.
Totally. Yeah.
You know, it's just not going down.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought that I got to think that you get batched into that sometimes.
Oh, for sure. I've been batched into that, of course. And whenever I've heard that too from people, and it's just like, okay, you can say whatever you want. You know, I don't care what people think, you know, about me or my age group or whatever, because it's, for me, probably not true. But I do know what you're talking about with like the mental health days and things like that, which are, I mean, yeah, they're real for sure. Absolutely. I think it gets blown out of proportion. How I think a lot of people my age are working their ass off and really working hard, you know, not to say I'm like the voice of people my age, but
no, you're one of them,
you know, and I have brothers and sisters who are all in my age group and they all work their asses off. And again, that's how we were brought up though. Like, I'm being honest. My mom was like, you have to work hard. If anything else, just be a hard worker. And it was like, we were always cleaning shit up around the house, and the way that they were afford to help people pay for college was they would buy really shitty houses and fix them up. And this was like right around 2008. They scooped up all these really shitty properties and they'd flip them. And the kids, they're like, if you want to go to college, you have to come and work at this house and fix it up.
Goddamn house.
It's my mom's a school teacher and my stepdad was working for the government at the time. So it's like the money wasn't like, they had to figure something else out.
Work your ass off.
Work your ass off. And so I think that got instilled with all of my siblings at least. And so that's where I come from. And that's
Same
where,
with me.
That's where my
Same
head's
with me.
at.
And I think that,
I think if somebody is, sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
If somebody is like, if they're making some excuse or they're complaining about work, it's like, okay, you put yourself in this position to work here, or your work, never complain about work.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is, I say, like, this isn't a fucking prison.
No, right? Yeah. You can get the fuck
anytime
out.
Anytime you want. Bolt.
Yep.
So let me ask you the final question, which is always, we've covered basically all this stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So, we've basically asked, but let's just say broad line. What do you say to somebody about their career and their paths and how they assess that and do that?
How do they go about finding their career?
Let's play this.
Okay.
Just as a more complex question.
Sure.
They don't really know what they want to do. And they're kind of scattered. And they're 23 or 4.
Oh yeah. It's a tough spot to be in.
And they're kind of like, oh my God, this whole world out there. And, so a guy like you have had success. What would you say?
I would say you should try everything once.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find something that you're attached to in some way, passionate about, maybe that's a direction to go in. That might not work out immediately, but I think if you don't know and you have no drive towards anything, I think you should try to figure it out. It's like, it's a hard question to answer, but it's like people with no direction, you got to find it somewhere, because you're the one who has to find it, by the way. You're never going to get anything handed to you. And if you do, good for you. That's how your life turned out. You got handed something.
Well, you're going to fumble that. Well, I believe that.
For sure. And so I think it's just like, it goes back to that reality thing. Like, what's the reality of the situation? And you might have to figure it out, and you might do something you don't like for a while. But if that's the case, hopefully you can allow yourself the opportunity to find what you really are meant to do. I think everybody's here and there's a reason that they're here and they're meant to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I really truthfully believe that. So I think it's cool when people figure that out before everybody else or earlier than everybody else. And it's okay to figure it out later too. But if you're, unhappy or depressed, or you have anxiety or all this stuff happening, and you're going, I'm working 2 jobs, I can't figure this out, like I'm barely scraping by, you can still make it happen. You just have to give yourself the opportunity and allow yourself to be in that mindset and focus on what you want.
You got to hit, even if it fucks up, you got to hit something straight.
You have to.
And because most of the people that I know who are my age, the beginning was a shit show. You've been fortunate. You've had a very directed thing.
Right.
But they were like right, left, and then some weird shit happened and they end up somewhere else. But the whole time they're busting their balls.
Right.
That's all they got to do.
They're working hard, right?
Yeah. So listen, I wanted to say thanks to Thomas Jøren Neilsen.
You got it. Yeah.
And it's been great chatting with you.
You as well.
And I will say this: I was nervous about.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, man. Because your age, and I'm like, fuck. I coach young guys.
Sure,
but
gotcha.
you're always worried about younger people. Does it work right?
Sure.
So I think with you and I, it didn't.
I think it worked fine.
No, I did too.
Yeah.
I had a great time, and it's just so cool. It's cool watching somebody who's young, who's pumped.
Yeah.
And being on the other end where I still am pumped, but I'm slower now. I'm not trying to slay the dragon. I'm just. Okay, cool. I'm going to do shit I like. But this weird thing, I still got a buzz about trying to I still have this sense of like, I want
Urgency a little bit.
I want to.
Yeah.
There's another thing I got to prove here.
Yeah.
You know?
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll get there. Just you wait.
Yeah. I'll take it from sixth back to third gear and coast a little bit.
I'll be hopefully in some other plane watching down upon you.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, hey, so thanks again.
Well, thank you for having me. It was great to
you're
chat.
Very welcome. Very welcome. And if you enjoyed this episode, thanks so much. You can see it on YouTube. We do the Instagram, TikTok. We're also on Spotify, Apple, other streaming services. If you like this one, check out. We have a whole handful of them, somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 right now. And if you listen, like, subscribe, all that crap. Just say we're nice, whatever. Tell a friend maybe. So anyway, with that all done, I'd just like to say thanks.
All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
You
Enjoy
too.
your day. Later.
All right.